Hello, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael for Wednesday, the 29th of June. I hope and pray that this will be a beautiful day for you. Yesterday, it was a weird day. Ever have one of those days when everything seems kind of odd? I had to thinking a lot about Roe v. Wade lately, obviously. I know I'm in Canada, not the States, and it's an American thing. But it truly isn't, because I've been reminded a lot lately about the way, as a Canadian, we deal with such things. We don't have the American sort of way of dealing with anything. We tend to be a bit more sort of stiff upper lip, British style, quieter. But I've been reminded lately about that although in Canada you can get abortions and things like that, we are not immune to people being nasty and horrible to people who might need to do such a thing, or those who provide them. I remember growing up, I lived in Niagara Falls, and my dad's name, first and last name, happened to be the same as a doctor who lived on the Niagara Peninsula. Not sure what city exactly, it wasn't Niagara Falls, but every once in a while, it sort of was cyclical. It wouldn't happen, and then it would happen 3 or 4 times in a row, and then go for months. And I'd get home from school, after school, and Mom would work. And Dad was at work. I answered the phone, and it got to the point where, as the oldest one, I chose and told my sisters that I was going to answer the phone, because this other gentleman with my dad's same name was a doctor. He was a gynecologist who apparently did do abortions. And there were a few times, went on for probably about 3 years, where, as I said, it would be cyclical. We'd go for months and nothing, and then there'd be an upsurge for whatever reason. And we would get these phone, like, is Dr., blank blanks, like to speak to blank blank. It's like, well, he's not here right now. Could I take a message? Well, can you tell him blah, 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 blah. Things that no, 13, 14, 15-year-old girls should ever hear. Because they were calling because they thought they were calling this doctor. Well, my dad wasn't a doctor, he was a banker, and it didn't take long to figure out what was going on. But it was harassment, and it was inappropriate. And at that age, I really wasn't aware of what the problem was until later on in life I realized what these people were doing and what they were trying to do. And it didn't matter to them that they were talking to a young girl, or the fact that this wasn't even the right phone number. Like, he had an unlisted number. Obviously, why? So lately, I've been thinking about that because Roe v. Wade and all this stuff. And then today, or sort of yesterday, I had to help someone out. They had to go to a gynecologist to have a procedure done. That the recommendation was that they shouldn't. There was a possibility that if they had to use anesthetic during the procedure, then they wouldn't be able to drive themselves home, and her husband wasn't available to drive her. So I said, I can take you. The thing is, I said, okay, so where are we going? I'll Google the directions. But because of the nature of some of the work that her doctor does, we weren't able to get the address of the doctor until the day before the appointment, when the text said, are you coming? Are you confirming your appointment? Yes. Then we'll give you the address. Because while I was in the waiting room waiting for this person, to have their appointment, there were tons of really pregnant women, 36 weeks, and looking like they wanted to rip their husbands' heads off. And they were so hot and tired, and they were just ready to give birth now, but at the same time not ready to give birth now. And that's the bigger part of what this doctor does. But also, apparently, there are reasons why he wouldn't simply give out his address until it was needed. And I understand that. What I don't understand is why that's necessary. Why would someone who provides a service for women that, in each woman's case, is considered to be important to them, and it needs to be done in a sterile situation with a professional and with a nurse who can take care of them and make sure that nothing goes wrong, and if something did go wrong, that they can get them the health care they need. Why would we have any question about that? It disturbs me. And so also during that day, I had my phone with me, and on my phone I have the Sirius app. So I was listening because, of course, the surprise witness for the January 6 hearings was coming on, and it's like a moth to a flame, or I'm a rubbernecker at a car crash. I just can't help watching. So I was listening to CNN and listening to what was going on. And on the way home, my friend was sleeping in the car, so I had the radio on. I was paying attention to the information about. I wrote down her name so I wouldn't forget. Cassidy Hutchison, and her. And while I missed most of her actual testimony, I was hearing the pundits, the reporters talking, the journalists talking about her and the strength of character it took for her. And then when Liz Cheney spoke up and talked about those people who had been veiled threats, the former president does read manuscripts and things like that. I was really hot under the collar. Well, then I got home and I dropped off my friend and went and got the mail. And in the mail was a package and many wonderful, beautiful artwork and things like this. But here was a little box with a journal in it. And the box says, "Open in case of moments that could make a preacher curse." And thank you, Christy. This just made my day. Because it reminded me that even in the most absurd and ridiculous situations, we need to have a sense of humor. We need to be able to see the bright side. We need to be able to recognize that even preachers need to curse. And as I said to Linda, I think yesterday, she said something about, there was a comment about F-bombs and kicking things across the room. I completely understand that. And I'll be fair. I didn't really know what F-bombs were. I had an idea, but we didn't swear much in my house growing up. But when I met my husband, who's a sailor, I became the queen of F-bombs. And I admit that, and I try really hard not to use them. And it's embarrassing. My mother, if she's watching, is probably dying. But I am pretty good about not dropping them in public. But I got to tell you, when you slam your toe against the corner of the desk in the middle of the night, or some of the other things of life happen, it's hard not to let them drop. So I love this. Opening case of moments that could make a preacher cuss. That's wicked good. Because you know what? Lately, this preacher has wanted to cuss. I hate what's going on in the world. The fact that this young woman, as they kept saying, she's 25 or 26 years old, which means she was, 2 years younger when this all happened. The January 6th stuff, a year younger. The fact that she was, as they stated, she was part of the Trump world, that if she was in the White House at that time, she was a true believer. And yet she is able now to be able to stand up and say, this is what happened, which implies in my mind that she recognizes that what was happening wasn't right, that she has the courage to come forward to acknowledge and state out loud the emperor had no clothes, and that the emperor, indeed, the king, was insane. And I don't think she used that word, but mine. And the fact is that she, like other people who have come forward, are obviously doing so at peril. They're at peril to themselves, to their reputations, to their future careers, to everything. Now, she'll probably get an awesome book deal out of this, and probably, movie rights and all that stuff. But you know what? If you've been through all that and you put yourself out there to testify to the committee and then come forward and testify live on with millions of people watching and answer those questions and recognize that you were privy to and participated in some of the most disturbing conversations and actions that our generations have seen. That takes courage, and it takes chutzpah, and it takes the wind out of the sails of the people who say that the next generation will just let things happen. Because you know what? It's the next generation that isn't going to let things happen. It's the next generation. I have no idea how old Christy is, but I'm thinking she's younger than me. And she has a young daughter. It's the next generation that's taking care of other people. It's the next generation like Cassidy, who are stepping up and saying, no, I cannot stand by and watch this happen. It's a next generation who's going to fight hard for against global warming. I watched a program called Vice the other night about Dick Cheney, and one of the implications in it was the spin doctors saying that global warming is too harsh. We need to talk about climate change. It's not as offensive. Okay, global warming, it's killing our planet, and it's this next generation. It's it's Cassidy's generation that's going to come forward and say, enough is enough. We have to do something about it. And so we need to do something about Roe v. Wade. We need to do something about the privacy issues and the fact that Clarence Thomas has basically stated that everything's up for grabs. And yes, I am Canadian. It's not my fight. But you know what? It is my fight because I'm a human being, and so are the women and the gay people and the interracial people, and so are all of the people in the United States who will be affected by this, and then the ripple effects around the world. As we see authoritarianism taking over, we have to step up. I will step up because I am Christian, because I believe that Jesus taught me that what you do to the least of these, you do to me, meaning to Jesus. And if we do ill to the least of these, then we have done ill to our Lord and Savior. If we don't do what he called us to do, to feed the hungry, to house the homeless, to clothe the naked, to visit those who are imprisoned, if we don't do those things, who will? Because it won't be very long before it is those people who those autocrats believe aren't human, people, minorities, people of a different gender, people who are poor, who will become the homeless, the naked, the hungry. We need to do something. So whether it's because you're Christian and you believe you need to stand up and do something because of that, because of your faith, because of your baptismal call, or if it's because you just are a decent human being, whatever it is, we need to do something. We need to be able to have something that says, open in case of moments that could make a preacher cuss. And then we need to have something that we can do about it. When we've finished venting our spleens and cussing, then we need to take action. So I'm not really sure what that is right now. But for me in Canada, it means working toward a moment when a gynecologist doesn't have to have their address or their phone number unlisted because they would be harassed or worse. It means standing up for those people who, when I look around me, I see are being oppressed in one way, shape, or form. It means voting in elections on my side of the border to make sure that my voice is heard. And then after the vote has been cast, my ballot has been struck and put in the box, then I also need to volunteer. I need to preach. I need to work hard to make sure that what I have put my name to, what I have marked my X on, is worth something. So to all my brothers and sisters in the United States who are wondering and waiting and maybe excited about what happened today or yesterday with Cassidy and the June 6 hearings, for Liz Cheney calling out all those who have been threatened to come forward and testify, for all those people who are wondering what next and how it might implicate them, what the implications will be for them. My prayers are for you, not only that you will know peace, but that you will know what steps to take to help to make that peace for you. So God bless you in all that you do, and thank you to Christy and to her daughter, and Reverend Dude says hi. And thank you to everyone who is doing their level best to put one foot in front of the other, to be faithful to who they are called to be, who God has called them to be. And God, with God's help and with each other's help, we can make this a world worth raising our children in. We really can. So have a good day. God bless you, and I will see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.